On May 21st, 2017, Ringling Bros Circus performed its final show, shuttering after 146 years of bringing joy to children and unrelenting torment to animals. The show celebrated all that had made Ringling Bros so entertaining: acrobatics, human pyramids, stupid hats, animal abuse, whatever this is, and of course, the secret illegal spy agency the circus ran from 1988 to 1998. Our story begins in 1981. The Reagan administration hated socialism a lot, so much so that the CIA decided to sell weapons to the Iranians and use the money to fund a group of Nicaraguan anti-socialist rebels called the Contras. The CIA was so proud of the plan that they decided to lie to Congress a bunch about it, leading to several people going to jail, including this guy, Claire George, who before being a person who was in jail had been the chief of covert ops and third highest ranking member of the CIA. For no good reason at all, George was pardoned, and then was faced with a question. What's a disgraced newly pardoned ex-CIA official with a stack of legal bills taller than an abused African elephant supposed to do? Well, why not join the circus? And so he did, with circus head honcho Ken Feld initially hiring George to use his diplomatic connections to help him acquire a panda that he could show to people in his big weird tents, though their partnership soon grew until Claire George was running what can only be described as a secret circus spy agency. The agency didn't have an official name, but court filings have referred to it as the John Doe Company, and while we only know so much about what the agency did, because as anyone who runs a secret circus spy agency knows, the secret part is really important, what we do know is absolutely bonkers. For starters, over a 10-year period, the John Doe Company managed to insert at least 16 secret agents into various activism organizations who were of the outrageous opinion that animal abuse is bad. PETA, PAWS, and the Elephant Alliance were all infiltrated by agents who rose through the ranks and stole thousands of documents, including bank information, credit card numbers, personal medical records, and even a list of all PETA contacts, all of which were used to sabotage fundraising and demonstrations and reduce membership. At one point, agents broke into the executive director of PETA's home and office to take surveillance photos. One agent became so trusted that they accompanied the executive director of PAWS to testify in front of Congress. And perhaps my favorite, another agent attempted to convince the deputy director of PETA to steal Ringling Bros animals as a protest with the intent of arresting them afterwards, which he sadly didn't do because it would be a perfect premise for Ocean's 14. The John Doe Company also bugged and wiretapped their own circus employees, often to bully them into abandoning workers' comp claims, but I don't have time to talk about that because I have to tell you about the most incredible, insane project the agency ever pulled: Project Preempt. First, some backstory. In addition to being Ken Feld's dad, Irvin Feld was a gay man, which is cool, but Irvin didn't seem to feel like it was all that cool and remained closeted his whole life, leading to his wife Adele eventually killing herself, reportedly because she was so distraught over her husband not seeming attracted to her, which I guess to be fair, he wasn't because, as I mentioned, he was gay. It's a sad story, but also a pretty interesting one, which is why a woman named Janice Potker wrote an article about both that and the Feld's family non-gay but nefarious business dealings for a local business magazine in 1990. Potker soon grew interested in writing a whole book about the Felds, and so both to prevent the damaging book from coming out and to apparently get revenge on Potker for saying his dad was gay, Ken Feld had Claire George run an 8-year operation to sabotage not only the book, but Potker's whole career. A man named Robert Ehringer was dispatched to pose as a fellow writer, befriend Potker, and gain her trust, which he did easily because writers are lonely and desperate for connection. At first, things started simple. Ehringer would find out where Potker was pitching her book or articles about the circus, and then the circus would dispatch agents to convince the publications that Potker was a lunatic who couldn't be trusted, which wasn't that hard seeing as it was the 90s and calling women crazy was super duper trendy. But Potker wouldn't give up on her circus book, so Ehringer was then ordered to convince Potker to consider writing a different book, not about the Feld family, but about the Mars Candy family. Then Ehringer got her a, and I'm putting this in massive air quotes, book deal with the little-known National Press Books. The reason for the air quotes is that the advance for this book deal was actually secretly being paid by the circus solely to distract Potker from writing the circus book. The trouble was, the book Potker wrote on the Mars family was quite good and starting to get some buzz. So, solely out of spite, the circus instructed the publisher not to pay the $300 they owed the book's photographer, which led to the book committing copyright infringement and quickly being pulled from all shelves. There was also a second fake book deal, this time co-written by Ehringer, that Ehringer sabotaged by intentionally writing his chapters really poorly, and also, just by the way, a failed attempt to hire a bodybuilder to goad Potker into an affair that would ruin her marriage. Eventually, Potker found out everything and sued, and I'm running out of time here, but I simply have to tell you about how the beans got spilled. Okay, so there was a guy named Charles Smith, a top executive at the circus, and he thought his girlfriend, who also worked for the circus, was cheating on him, so he bugged her house and office, and then one day he told his assistant to destroy the tapes of her, and also, unrelatedly, quickly to return her car to her house. The assistant misunderstood and returned the tapes of the girlfriend to the girlfriend, who called the cops, and then Smith got fired and then sued the circus and revealed all of this, which is how Podker and PETA found out, and then how I found out, and now how you found out. And that, my friends, is why they call it the greatest show on Earth. Meanwhile, I have pretty specific thoughts about what's the best dinner on Earth. I don't think it's delivery because it's expensive and slow and unhealthy, and usually by the time it gets to you, kind of soggy and gross. I also don't think it's home-cooked meals from the grocery store because then you have to go to the grocery store, buy more than you usually actually need, then find a good recipe, then make probably more than you'll eat, and suddenly it's 9 p.m. and you have no time left to do nothing on the couch. What I think is the greatest dinner on Earth is our sponsor, HelloFresh. That's because you select which meals you want to eat, and then everything you need to make those meals shows up automatically on your doorstep in the exact quantities you need, which saves you both time and money. Their meals also have the side effect of probably being healthier than you'd otherwise eat, and in my experience, more interesting. Like, I would never think to make these tropical teriyaki pork bowls, but I'm glad I did because they were delicious. I've used HelloFresh for years, since long before they actually first sponsored the channel, and have always valued the way they're able to make fresh, fulfilling, delicious home cooking more efficient, allowing me to fit it into my busy schedule of making content and laying on my couch. Trying out HelloFresh makes a lot of sense, not only because they're a good product, but also because you can click the button on screen or go to HelloFresh.com and use code HI65 for 65% off plus free shipping.